It's the Tipp Major. And Tipp, before you start the intro, how many years have you and Lana been together? Because yesterday was their anniversary.
Yes, thanks, Greg. Yeah, it was our anniversary. We're gonna get a 3 years now. Just such a supportive person, man. She's such a love of my life. I absolutely adore her. But thank you for that. But look, it's the Thursday Checkdown, and we're here to talk about some football. It's week 8, Greg. Can you believe that?
Yeah, next week is the halfway point.
It's
People
crazy.
forget that with 17 games, week 9 is exactly halfway point. So by now we should know who's hot, who's not, except injuries keep getting in the way.
Oh, yeah, those gruesome injuries, man, they do keep getting in the way. But you know what doesn't get in the way? Doesn't get in the way is a sports affiliation when it comes to your fantasy football team. We are a positive community here to create positive thoughts and positive thinking about the fantasy industry. And guess what, guys? We are here with some special guests. So we're going to bring on our special guest. Bring on our first guest, Iggy. It's Dylan. What's up, Dylan? How are you, man?
Hey, thank you, Tipp. By the way, I think Tyreek Hill blew a hamstring in practice today.
Who did?
I'm kidding.
Look at him. Look, he's trying to break news. He's trying to break news and don't even have the news yet. Let's bring on our second guest, Iggy.
I don't want any player to get injured because I've been decimated by injuries. But I got to tell you, Bumpy, if Kyron Williams went down, I'd be the happiest camper in the world because that would mean my boy is starting.
Yeah, 100%.
I wouldn't be happy because I've got Kyron in my guillotine lineup tonight.
Oh, gosh. Look
I have 0 shares of anybody from the Rams. Actually, I have Puka and running backs wise, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I gotta get Michigan players. And I really thought Blake Corum would share early and then take over the job by now. So I was wrong.
Well, you know what? I'm probably going to be wrong by saying this, but I'm probably going to call you Bumpy Johnson at least 2 times on this show. So just get ready for it.
Instead of Jones?
Instead of Jones. You don't know who Bumpy Johnson is, Greg. You don't know who Bumpy Johnson is.
Yeah. This is actually a different playoff for that, but yeah.
All right. So we're going to get this party started off, man. We can't wait. We're going to hear from Sir Whittington in just a second. So, Greg, AI or not to AI?
Wait, okay, so in this segment, we start off by asking the Sports Mind AI to evaluate 3 players. Now, typically, we're looking at flex players. Should you start this guy over this guy over this guy? And one of the things that we do is we always try to get people that are very close in year-to-date scoring. Okay, last week, it was Najee Harris, Josh Downs, and Bucky Irving. We also poll the crowd. I go out on Twitter and set up a 3-person poll. Now, they could be different positions. As long as they're flex eligible, we ask the question. By the way, last week, they were all within 0.3 of a point of each other. 2 of them actually had the same number of points year to date. The AI and the crowd picked Najee Harris, Josh Downs, and Bucky Irving. I picked Josh Downs, and then Najee Harris, and then Bucky Irvin. And the actual results were Bucky Irvin number 1, Najee Harris number 2, and Josh Downs disappeared. I didn't think that anybody could play quarterback as poorly as Anthony Richardson did, to be honest. But what we do is for every position that the AI is off, we give a point. So when they picked Bucky Irving as number 3 and he finished number 1, they get 2 points. So the more points you have, the worse it's doing. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I'm friends with the gentleman who runs the AI, Connor Ludlow, and he markets this for fantasy football enthusiasts. He's been pretty good most of the year, okay? 4 points off on 3 players within 0.3 of a point. That's not too bad. 16 points for the year. 16 total points for the year. And I remember the first week he was dead on, all 3 of them. I think this week he's probably going to be dead on again because this week Tipp picked the players. So this week, and like I said, we also asked the crowd. This week we asked about Javonte Williams, Rashad White, and Zach Moss. Okay. the crowd responded. 60% think Javonte Williams will finish first. 35% think Rachaad White will finish first, and 5% think Zach Moss will finish first. Tipp, never should have gone with Moss. Should have got a different position player that's
But
close to this.
they were all within the same range.
They were, but Moss, I mean, you can look at that. Everybody's going to say Moss last. Now, if he finishes
you never
first,
know. Yeah,
that's right. You never know. Anyway, my take is I think we can all agree that Zach Moss is the least attractive of these three options. I still see Najee as a 10-point guy. 10 points per game unless he scores a touchdown. Yeah. When he scores a touchdown, he'll get up to the 16 to 20-point range. But I still see him with that solid floor right at 10 points, okay? Rashad is hurt by the fact that he's now in a three-headed monster, okay? And the loss of Evans and Godwin, man, that's going to mean packed boxes. I really believe that. So if I'm coaching Tampa Bay, my first play is I'm going to have Baker throw a bomb. I don't care who it's to. I don't care if it's completed. Just throw it and do a play action and throw it deep just to get the defense to back up a little bit. I think that'll stick in their minds the rest of the game, okay? But my problem is the Falcons are the 8th stingiest team to running backs, and they're only giving up 96 rushing yards per game. They have allowed 5 running back receptions, but only about 23 yards, and they're limiting backs to 3 TDs all year. So I think that's a tough matchup for Rachaad White when there's 3 about it. You know, I think with 1 back, those numbers are good. With 2 backs, they're all right. All right, they're definitely an RB2 type thing. But with 3, forget about it. No,
it's not forget about it. It's forget about it. Yeah, you got to do it in like a Brooklyn accent. Like, forget about it.
All right, Javonte has a significantly better matchup against the Panthers. They rank last in fantasy points allowed to running backs, giving up over 133 yards per game to running backs. All right, they've given up 13 touchdowns in 7 games. So I'm saying I can't pass on Javonte. But I did ask, what does Sir Winnington think, Iggy?
Overall, Javonte Williams stands out as the most reliable option for Week 8, primarily due to his recent explosive performance and consistent dual threat ability. Rachaad White follows, with PPR appeal linked to his involvement in the passing game, but carries workload uncertainty. Zach Moss, with his currently minimized role, is the least favorable option of the 3.
And that's an AI. That is also the crowd, and it's also me. So tell me, Dylan, of the 3, do you agree with the crowd? Do you think it's Javonte, followed by Rachaad, followed by Zach?
Actually, part of me likes Rachaad White more than Javonte, even with the matchup. Looks like Bucky Irvin won't play. Looks like Bucky Irvin will practice again today, so it might be more Rachaad White and Sean Tucker for the Bucs. Plus, how many guys are going to be left for the Bucs without Evans and Godwin? It's going to be Jalen McMillan. Who's the
Sterling Shepard.
Sterling Shepard and Trey Palmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tucker. Otten.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bumpy.
Yeah.
Get your thoughts in.
On what? That on my guy or his guy?
On all 3 of those guys.
Well, I mean, prior to today, finding out that who's the backup that has
Bucky Irvin?
Yeah, Bucky Irvin. Prior to him, like that opens up completely for White. Now it's like more even. You know what I mean? Javonte's hot. He's always been good years ago. He's been coming back from injury. The team is playing well. I was huge on Javonte until I heard about the injury today. So it could go either way. I could toss up completely. If I had to pick, I'd still go Javonte though.
Okay.
Yeah, we talked about Javonte. No, yeah, we talked about Javonte on our earlier Q&A space. And Javonte Williams, he's a great player, but it's even better of a matchup. I mean, going against the Carolina Panthers, they're giving up 2 touchdowns a game in rushing, and they're giving up 34 points per game. So this just could be a situation where the Denver Broncos score a ton of points. Here's the thing. I'm not going to tell you guys how many points that they score per quarter, but in the second quarter of the games, they are giving up 13 points per game. That's basically 2 touchdowns is what the Carolina Panthers have been averaging this far this season. So it's one of those situations where this could be a really big smash-up game for the Broncos. The other thing, too, is you got to take into the consideration that they're bringing Bryce Young in. Could we see a situation where Bryce Young doesn't play as well? Absolutely. The same thing with it. Could he possibly play better? That's also a factor too, but it's really this defense. The Carolina defense is bad right now.
Yeah.
So Tipp is leading the next section. And Iggy, you want to tell us what that is?
Yeah, so we have this topic is this day in history. So this day in history, October 24th, Mount Vesuvius. I always love saying Mount Vesuvius. It erupted, burying the city of Pompeii, Herculaneum, and Aplantis. And see, Greg put me to this and got all these Greek words in here. And Sabati, and Greg sabotaged me with this, and killing thousands, which an unexpected shrub explodes in a historic fashion this week. Now, before we answer our question, we're going to start, Greg. We're going to start with our pro, myself, and then our Joe. 3 of us picked a player from the same team, so this is going to be really interesting. Greg, who did you pick?
Well, with me, I went with Jalen McMillan, Tampa Bay wide receiver. With Evans out and with Godwin out, Baker's got to throw to somebody. He is going to throw to somebody, and McMillan's been on the field all year, so he has more familiarity with McMillan. So I actually like Jalen McMillan with this. The Buccaneers, I just think that Atlanta is a good matchup. The Falcons are 30th ranked defense to wide receivers in the red zone. This means they're giving up TDs. And TDs is the fastest way to get points in fantasy football. He's been playing all year. Like I said, he's 6'1". He is raw, but he got 8 targets last week. And Evans and Godwin didn't miss the whole game. He got those mostly after they went out. So I think Baker Mayfield is not going to stop throwing the ball, especially in an important divisional game.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a good call, but we'll keep it going. All right, so our next is our pro. Dylan, what did you have?
You've got the right team, but you've got the wrong and right position, but you've got the wrong receiver, my friend. It's got to be Trey Palmer, because we know McMillan's an inside.
Tell us why. And Iggy, bring up Dylan into the main screen. Iggy?
There he goes. Yeah.
Let me see myself.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead, Dylan. We're still on.
But we know Trey Coleman's an outside receiver. McMillan's more of a slot guy, and Baker loves his outside receivers. Not that I hate McMillan. I think McMillan is a great play, but I think Palmer, as being an outside receiver, could make plays too against Atlanta. I mean, seemingly, if you think back to what happened when these teams met in Week 5, that was a scoring bonanza, and we could have another one this weekend.
Right.
Well, I'm next, and I think both of you are wrong when it comes to the Tampa Bay wide receiver, because the answer is Sterling Shepard. And look, Greg even said it. He wants a wide receiver with familiarity. So who is familiar with Baker Mayfield? It's his old college buddy, Sterling Shepard. So I believe that Sterling Shepard also, the Bucs also are averaging 9 targets to their slot receivers. So who is going to be their slot receiver? Well, Todd Bowles said they're not only going to use him in the slot, they're going to utilize him everywhere. So they're going to utilize right. They're going to utilize Sterling Shepard everywhere. So that in and of itself is a player that I want on my squad because I feel like they're going to utilize him in the slot. They've utilized him in the backfield. Just a few games ago, he had 4 touches out of the backfield. So I feel like he's going to be a player that comes in here and that they have that familiar, recipe, him and Baker. And then now we're going to go ahead and see him get some touches all over the field. So I'm going Sterling Shepard. Joe, who are you going with, Bumpy?
Well, I should have just gone with Otten just to make it an all Tampa.
There you should have, man.
But no, my guy is going to be Mr. Romeo Doubs of the Green Bay Packers.
Love it.
Look, he week 5 he got some trouble. He got benched. Week 6 he comes back against Arizona, 2 touchdowns. Week 7, what do you have? That was against Houston last week. He had 95 yards, led the Packers in targets, receptions, receiving yards. Had 6 first downs. 4 or 5 contested catches. Most importantly, you know how the game script is about 15, 20 plays. They for the week prior, the game plan for the next game comes out, and very first throw of the game, 23-yard dart to Dobbs. At the end of the game, when it counts, who are you going to go to? The most trusted receiver. He had 2 receptions on that last drive to kick the last field goal. Who caught those passes? Dobbs. So I think they are, let's see, Green Bay's got the second highest expected points this week, 27 points. They're 4.5 favorites. I think it's 4.5, right? Yeah. So he shouldn't get game scripted out. They're not going to be running the ball, hopefully. Even if the Jags do want to have a shootout, Mr. Dobbs is there for you. Let's do it. Fire him up.
I just don't know how you can choose one Green Bay receiver over
He's
the
on the
others.
field all the time. He's not coming off the field. Obviously, Reed is the guy. We all know that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But he's not coming off. It's Christian Watson, and the other guy's actually hurt as well. Trust me, I didn't want to touch his back. I had Watson the first 4 or 5 weeks going, he's the man. He's not the man. He's not the man. So I'm just going with the hot hand. Clearly, the coaches want to get him involved early. And the quarterback, mind you, as well, leads the league in touchdowns. You can't go wrong with somebody that has that kind of quarterback. On the
So,
cheap.
Iggy, what's our next segment?
Find your win tuition and elevate your sports betting.
It is. It's studs to sit. I thought he had jumped our commercial. Anyway, every week there are some studs that you have to sit because of matchup or injury. There's just studs to sit. If anybody ever tells you always play your studs, run away. They don't know what the hell they're talking about because every week there are studs that should sit. And we prove this because right now we went 3-1, 3-1-0 last week on studs to sit. Now, why a tie? If you recommend a running back or wide receiver, and they're top 12 in the standings, but for the week they finished 13 through 24, we give that a tie. They're not studs the way they should be, but if they finish outside of the top 24, you get a win. Quarterbacks and tight ends, you just got to finish outside the 13 to get a win. So overall, we're 15-9-4, which is 6-15, which means 61% of the time we're giving you guys in the top 12 that you should have on your bench for that week. So this week, we've got 4 different players, and I'm going to start this week with Dylan. Dylan, our pro, who do you got? Because I really like your pick. I think it's gutsy.
You know what? I'm the big D for a reason. I'm going bold. I think everybody should bench Alvin Kamara. Not just yes, he got the contract with the Saints, but A, he's got a broken hand. B,
he's had a broken hand though.
Spencer Rattler's playing on Sunday, so quarterback downgrade.
But is he? Because I've heard that Derek Carr is making a push to get back.
I don't think Cole's playing. And see, that game's just going to be a snooze fest. I mean, we know the Chargers don't exactly play sexy football. I mean, that game's got like 17-14 written all over. I mean, Kamara might be lucky to get 50 yards if that.
I like the call. Like I said, let's go to you, Tip. Who do you have?
Yeah, for me, it's Pat Freiermuth, and right now he's the number ranked 10 tight end. So I like Pat Freiermuth, but here's the thing: Russell Wilson likes downfield cooking. Like, he likes to throw the ball downfield. He doesn't like to throw to his tight ends too often. He will do it if there's a desperate moment, like what Pat Freiermuth got last week. There was a desperation moment, and Pat Freiermuth ran off for a 25-yard pass. So those are situations where Pat Freiermuth will get the ball. But I will say this: the last 3 games, he's been targeted just 3 times. So that right there in of itself also gives me a little bit of worry that he's not necessarily being phased out of the offense, but they're utilizing him in different ways. Like I said, they're getting the ball down the field. 71% of his snap percentage last week, or snap shares last week, actually was the lowest of his season. It's not bad, because you definitely want the 71%. That's a good percentage to have on the field, but he just wasn't utilized on the field like he should have been, or like maybe he would have been if Justin Fields was there. And then here's the last question. Here's the last thing for me, and this is it. The Giants defense. The Giants defense is is a very tough defense, despite their offense being as bad as it is. But against tight ends, they're giving up 2.5 points per game, which is the fewest amongst the tight ends. And right now, as far as yardage goes, the Giants are giving up the 6th fewest yards for the whole game against all of the receiving options at 179. So I think that the defense of the Giants will be ready to play against Russell Wilson. And I think, again, just like Dylan said, a snooze fest. I think we got another snooze fest coming against the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New York Giants. It's a really low-scoring game in this one.
I don't think so. I think Russ really adds to that offense.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to go to Bumpy.
So, yeah, I agree. I think Russ might get him. I'm not even a big Pat fan, but I'm not quite sure. And he really hasn't done much all year as well, too. But
I'd rather have Russ as my quarterback than Daniel Jones right now.
Well, yeah.
I got negative points from Daniel Jones last week in the league, because you get -1 for every sack, and the dude got sacked 7 times.
Yeah, the offensive line there is bad.
Yeah, I picked up that Giants defense.
I don't blame Jones for that either. I really don't. Because he didn't throw any picks. He didn't get a lot of yards, but he didn't have time to throw. He was getting beat up. Hey, Bumpy.
Yes, sir.
I want people know, okay? If you don't know Bumpy on Twitter, okay, Bumpy is a very intelligent guy. And I know this. Bumpy, tell them what your real first name is.
Well, actually, my real name is Robert, but I go by Greg.
There you go. You're
I got you.
Oh, man.
Who you got, Bumpy?
I'm going to go with, it hurts me to say it, but because I have his quarterback, but I'm going to go with Scary Terry, man. I gotta sit him. Well, I mean, if I'm going to pick somebody to sit that's a stud, it's going to be Scary Terry. Look, there's a saying in Jamaica. It's called a bad man. He's going against Jalen Johnson. Jalen Johnson is a bad man. You know what I'm saying? Listen, the stats-wise, he's had 861 coverage snaps. He's allowed 1 touchdown. That's ludicrous, yo. That's ridiculous. Bears have been shutting down Brian Thomas, Deontay Johnson. The Bears defense is coming off a bye. I mean, come on. You can't. And on top of that, worst thing about it is they might even have Mariota starting this week. 50-50, I don't know. But either way, even if he didn't start, another stat, too, that I found today. In college, what's the ASU? Yeah, Jalen Johnson played against what's his face, Jordan Love. He had 25 total passing yards. Brandon Ayuk was a receiver. Johnson shut him down. He had 4 yards. The man does not play. He's a bad man.
He is a very bad man. And you said ludicrous, and I'm an old movie guy. There was I want to say a slapstick comedy about like Spaceballs or something, where they had ludicrous speed for the spaceship. Ludicrous speed. That's what came to mind. Jalen has ludicrous speed. He has makeup speed. He's a player. Phenomenal. Now, for me, Bumpy accused me of cheating with my pick. We have a rule here. If a player's doubtful or out, you cannot choose them.
Right.
But questionable, you can. Okay.
Yeah, I picked Brian Robinson.
Daniels first. The justification. Daniels is listed as questionable. Okay. Now, NFL jargon, that means 50-50. But in actual NFL play, there's Adam Hutchinson from Football Guys is an injury expert. And he did a study from 2017 to 2023. Over 2,000 players appeared as questionable on a weekly injury report.
Yeah, but
according to the NFL. And basically, of that, 71% of those players actually played the next week.
Fair enough.
So, we don't know if
I own the guy, so hopefully he does play. I don't, I mean? I'm not even sure if I'm going to start him because I picked up.
I don't think he's going to play, which is why I selected him. All right. So the reason I don't think he suffered a rib injury. Okay. He's playing the Bears, right? The Bears are a good defense. They've had 18 sacks in 6 games. That's 3 sacks per game. And the way Jaden Daniels plays, he still doesn't know how to slide. So when he runs, he opens himself up. If a team knows that you've got sore ribs, where do you think they're attacking? They're attacking your ribs because they know. And if I'm the Redskins, there's no way I let him hit the field until he's at least 80%.
Yeah,
at least 80%. So, the Bears also have 7 picks and 29 passes defense. So even if he was healthy this week, I don't think I'd play him. I think this is a matchup. Now, I realize he gets a lot of rushing yards, but I think this is a matchup. The Bears don't give up a lot of rushing yards to quarterbacks, and they don't give up much passing at all. 1 sack or a hit on a scramble, that could end Daniel's game, but it could also potentially end his season.
And my fantasy season.
Wait. You want to know what's ludicrous is you two over here both talking about these Washington Commanders. Look, the Washington Commanders have a chance to win this division. He has a chance to play this week. We get the number 1 pick versus the number 2 pick. You don't think that Jaden Daniels is going to play? Dylan, help me out here. Do you think Jaden Daniels will play this week? I think he's going to play. I think that not only
do I think Jaden Daniels plays this week, I think Jaden Daniels. Let me see. Let me. I think, you know what? I might be crazy. I think Jaden Daniels outscores Patrick Mahomes this week, ribs or not.
Let me ask you this, Dylan. Let me ask you this.
Mahomes ain't doing.
You got Tua on one hand, probably going to play, and you got Jaden Daniels on the other. Who are you starting?
Is Jaden Daniels playing?
Well, you're saying he is. Right now, if you had to start Tua or Jaden, who would you go with?
I would go Jaden Daniels. I hope I have a full PM quarterback. Otherwise, I'm screwed.
Yeah. Would you agree with that? Would you agree with that, Tip?
Yeah. If you have Jaden Daniels starting and you have Tua starting, you 100% are going to go with Jaden Daniels. Not only the rushing upside, I understand he may not run as much this week, but you have to go with the hot hand. And we don't know what we're going to get. We don't know what we're going to get from Tua this first week back.
We know we're not going to get a lot of stuff out of Chicago defense. They're going to shut them down. They don't play.
So Bumpy, do you agree with me?
I say Tua by a mile, yeah. They are fired.
All right, so the 2 smart ones on this show.
Now, look, they might be fired up. They might be fired up, but we got to see what they can bring to the table.
I'm telling you, all you got to do is
score. I mean, a couple, that's cakewalk, dude. Arizona defense, that's fine. They're ready. Those boys are ready. I get it. It's been really bad, but the thing is, he's not 100%. The kid is not going to be. He's a string bean. He's not. They're going to take it easy. And
he's got some dog in him.
Wait a minute.
You know about that. You got some dogs over there in Miami.
I like this kid. I love him. He's a great quarterback, but I just don't trust him right now.
He wants to take it to the Bears. The only way that he won't take it to the Bears is if they don't medically clear him. That is it.
Dylan,
just like Tua wants to prove the world that he's a man too.
Wait a minute. So wait a minute. Is Tua coming off his 15th concussion?
It doesn't matter. He's
No, I thought it was his 70th, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
If he's on the field, if he's on the field, he's got Tyreek Hill. Maybe
Exactly.
Tyreek Hill may not play right now.
He might not play.
A-Chain,
But
he's got
Jalen
A-Chain.
Waddle.
Yeah.
Listen, he's got 3 weapons that can score at a drop of a hat. He doesn't have Scary Terry. Like, it's an easy call for me. A-Chain can take a 5-yard to the house. Waddle, Tua. I mean, come on. It's not even.
All I can say is one man. Wait, look. All I can say is a wise man once said, "We shall see." And I think we got a commercial break coming up.
We have seen Chicago defense. Yes, we have.
Find your win tuition and elevate your sports betting with Better Takes. Better Takes examines your betting history to uncover hidden areas that cause bankroll leaks. Uncover patterns and biases so you can break the cycle of mistakes, avoid weaknesses, and play into your strengths. Our advanced stats offer unparalleled granularity, helping you immediately spot problem areas that could be affecting your success. Use the Better Takes Edge score to gauge your expertise for each potential bet, providing clarity and confidence in your decisions. Take control of your betting journey. Download Better Takes from the Apple App Store or Google Play today and start understanding your biases for free. Before placing bets, check with Better Takes, a smarter, more informed approach to sports betting.
And we have a new segment up. Iggy, you want to tell us what it is? And Tip's going to lead it, but before I let him lead it,
It's called Breath of
I want to shout out to Evan. We're going to have Adam Hutchinson on the show in the off season, and we're going to discuss all things injuries. I'm thinking about trying to get Dr. Morse, Jesse Morse, and Dr. Franklin, Kevin Franklin, on as well. So, Tip, what's next?
Next is our Put Me In Coach segment. And, just
we got to suck at this, don't we?
Say it again?
We got to suck at this, don't we?
Oh, we do. You're right, Greg. We got to suck at this one. So it's important to find your sleepers. And not only is it important to find them, it's starting them as well. So last week we were 1-3, which puts us at 11-17 for the year at 39%. I'm gonna say we need to bump that up to 40%, Greg. And I feel like we got some good ones this week. I think we're gonna get this one in. So who are some players that you're gonna say put me in, coach? These are sleepers that you picked that are outside of the top 25 and that you feel like will finish inside that top 25 this week. So we're gonna start with you.
Well, wait a minute. Outside of the top 25 for running back and wide receiver.
Oh,
just outside the top 12 for quarterback and tight end.
So, Greg, since you have it, so go ahead and talk to us about your Put Me In Coach player.
I went with the 20th ranked quarterback because NFL players do not like to be embarrassed, okay? And Dak Prescott got embarrassed by Detroit. I mean, that whole team got embarrassed by Detroit. They're playing the 49ers, who you usually think of as a good defense. And they do have a good defense, but not a great one. And the Cowboys have had 2 weeks to prepare. So I think Prescott had his worst game since week 11 of 2021 against Detroit. He is going to want to show out. I really believe that. And I just don't expect a repeat of that game. And while there are no teams on bye this week, so that means there's an extra 1 or 2 games, or maybe even 3 in some weeks. I think there's 6 teams on bye in a couple weeks. I still think he can get into the top 12. Now, 49ers just look like a team in disarray to me. They're using explosive return specialist Kevontae Turpin on offense now because everybody knows CeeDee Lamb is great. Everybody knows the running game sucks. I mean, don't get me started on Dowdle and Ezekiel.
Yeah, there's nothing
Ezekiel.
Oh, gosh.
But
Ezekiel.
Cavante's had 13 targets in the last 2 games, 7-1 and 6-1.
I agree, Greg, completely.
I think he provides a decent threat.
Look at last year too. Like after the bye, like the man just went on a spree. Points. The bye came at a good time. Basically, like they're scheduled the next. I was actually going to try to pick him up in one of my leagues. It's either him. I had a choice.
Somebody had him on the.
Yes, they dropped.
It's in the waivers?
when he was not playing so well a couple of weeks ago. My
buddy if you're in a Scott Fishbowl type league, you've got to have Cavante Turpin on your team. If you're in any league that gives any points for returns, I didn't think he would do anything against Detroit because Detroit doesn't allow runbacks on kickoffs. Yeah. His first run back was 71 yards against Detroit, and he caught it 8 yards deep in the end zone. He brought a kick out from 8 yards deep. Nobody does that, but they were getting beat so bad. Why not? And he got him down in field goal range with that one return. So, I love him. And again, don't discount the motivation you have from being embarrassed. I just think great players don't like to be embarrassed, and Dak is a great player.
No, he's going to be strong in the second half of the season. I agree 100%. This week, I'm not quite sure, but definitely for real, like he's got a great schedule coming up for him for sure.
I'm going to make a bold prediction with Dak Prescott this weekend. I think it's going to be another stinker. I think the Cowboys poop their pants on Sunday night.
I'm saying long term, though. I think for sure, he's going to turn it around.
Yeah,
they can't run the ball. Like you said, they're not going to run the ball. They have no choice but to throw. Sure, he'll get 2 picks, but he'll also have 320 yards. And CeeDee Lamb will do, even if it's garbage time. CeeDee Lamb, I had CeeDee last year. Man, oh man, I can't tell you how many like garbage time TDs and like 80-yard catches, like chop it up, perfect. You know what I mean? They can't go wrong. Dak's going to have a huge second part of the year.
Tipp, who's next?
So next we have the pro, Dylan. And I really like his pick, but you know who I think he's going to like his pick even more? Is JC. Dylan, who is it?
Rashad Bateman. I mean, first off,
wait a minute, Dylan, before you go further. Those that don't know, Tipp and I were at the Fantasy Football Expo with JC, and somebody gave JC a Rashad Bateman card. JC collects player cards, and I think JC tore it up or threw it away, or he hates Rashad Bateman. But I saw him this week on Twitter actually give some praise to Bateman. So, Dylan, sorry about that. I just had to get that inside joke in.
But Rashad Bateman's coming off a great game Monday night against the Bucs. Cleveland's offense might actually be better, but I mean, I'm looking at Baltimore's offense with Zay Flowers iffy with that high ankle sprain. I think Bateman's in for another big game, and if Bateman's healthy, I mean, we have not really seen the best Rashad Bateman. So keep it up. Wide receiver 26. I think Rashad Bateman's looking at him maybe wide receiver 15 this week.
Do you think that Zay Flowers is going to miss the game?
Yes.
He might just.
High ankle sprain, short week. I don't think the Ravens playing.
Yeah, he was probably run on adrenaline, and like maybe after the game that thing started. I think it's his hip or ankle or whatever. You know how that works. He could possibly be out, but for sure.
Yeah, I like the call with Rashad Bateman.
Bateman has a big game.
I love Bateman. I've been talking about Bateman.
No, JC. I meant JC.
I just can't mess it up. I'm retired.
By the way, I've been drafting Rashad Bateman for 3 years in basketball, and I'm like, it's about dang time.
All right, P. Bateman.
Yeah, who's next?
I love it. All right, next is going to be myself, and I'm picking Kareem Hunt. Look, he's right now ranked number 44 in running backs. The thing is, the last 2 weeks, look at what he's done. He's had a touchdown the week prior, and then last week he had 2 touchdowns going up against my Raiders, and I'll get to that in a minute. But you know what? I think he might be Kansas City's new number 1 running back. I read an article. I had to go back and look at it, but it was in the New York Post by Eric Richter. And he said that basically Andy Reid is not necessarily saying that Isaiah Pacheco can be back this season. And if they continue to win games, the Kansas City Chiefs, there might be a scenario where they say, you know what, we're just going to wait on Isaiah Pacheco because he is their best running back, and see if we can get him back in the postseason, which doesn't really help any of our fantasy teams. So as long as Kareem Hunt, who is questionable this week with a hip injury, as long as he is that, stays on the field and is productive, and in an offense with Patrick Mahomes, I know Patrick Mahomes' offense and the Kansas City hasn't been great, but you always have to have that threat of Patrick Mahomes. He's never gonna really see stacked boxes. And when I say stacked boxes, that means 8-9 players in a box on defense, stopping the running backs against Patrick Mahomes. I don't care if their receiving core is depleted. They just got DeAndre Hopkins back. It's not looking good for my Raiders. And this is the other point that I have to make about Kareem Hunt going against the Raiders. The Raiders give up 4.8 yards per carry to their opposing running backs. And in the last 2 games, I hate to say it, they've given up 2 rushing touchdowns in the last 3 games apiece. So they're giving up a ton of rushing touchdowns. I think Kareem Hunt finds himself in the end zone again, and he gets about 85 total yards, but he definitely finds himself in the end zone this week for Kansas City, as long as he plays with that hip injury. All right, our last person is Joe.
No. You need to watch more games. A stacked box is not 8 or 9 people in the box. It's 6 or 7. You put 8 or 9 people up in the box, and they're going to just throw a fade. They're just going to fade you all night.
Yeah, but Greg, when they say 8 or 9 in the box or stacked boxes, they usually mean
6 or 7. 6 or 7.
Okay, all right, 6, 7, 8. It's still stacked boxes.
I mean, defense is
leaves you 3. 8 only leaves you 3 people to cover the receivers.
But when you have certain teams, Greg, and this doesn't happen with Patrick Mahomes because he's so good at throwing the football, you rarely ever going to see a stacked box.
Detroit would love to see
if you did that.
Detroit would love to see 8 men in the box. They would Goff would eat them alive. What they do is they put 9 men on the line of scrimmage, but then they drop them, and you don't know who's dropping. But when we're talking about a stacked box, we're talking about 6 or 7 people because you only have 5 interior linemen. So you have more than what you have linemen to block. That's a stacked box. But it's just terminology. Anyway, let's go,
all right,
Bumpy.
Let's go to our Joe. Bumpy, what you got?
With this is put me in, Coach, right?
Yeah.
I have 0 shares of this guy, so this is my actual only opportunity to put him in. So I was like, it's Tank Bigsby. He's running hot. The kid is on fire. ETN's got a bit of a hamstring injury. Apparently, he did practice a little bit this week. It's probably 50-50 on playing. I don't know, Greg. He had 70%. I'm not sure. But yeah, Tank's just playing too well right now. In order for them to stay in the game, he's explosive. The kid makes it happen. I don't know what he did on his offseason program, but whatever he did, everybody else needs to get on that because he is wonderful to watch. He's just electric, dude.
People might not understand you choosing him because of our rules, but he is actually outside the top 24.
Yeah, he's 27.
Yeah.
And so is Kareem. And so it's Kareem Hunt.
They put him in. I don't own any shares, so I was like, this is my opportunity to pretend like I got Tank.
Oh no, I love the pick, and it's like I'm going back to my '60s music days. He's 27 with a bullet, which means he's climbing. So he won't be eligible next week. You wait.
ETN's not gonna give up, but like he's got a good opportunity right now. He just runs. He reminds me of like Le'Veon Bell. He's patient and he presses and he releases and he lets the defenders come to him, and then he just cuts his foot up and gone. The kid's great. Kid's playing really well.
Yeah, Mike, you're right. He's one of the most improved players.
He's been a popular name on the Put Me In Coach the last few weeks. I know I picked him. I think a player, one of the other Joes or pros picked him as well. He's been a popular name. I
can totally see why. I watched the last 2 shows. I didn't get to see the week 4 and 5, but I didn't see that.
I appreciate you watching.
Yeah,
of course, yeah.
The purpose of this show is to have fun, but to also give people good information, which is why I loved your question, and we will get to it tonight.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of questions, we have our next segment. Iggy?
It's my turn to lead,
saxophone.
but I'm going to let Tipp lead this segment because this is really his segment. He grabs the questions. He gets them all for us. So, Tipp, take it over, buddy, and then I'll just do the conclusion.
Yeah. So we always, from time to time, guys, we get questions, start-sit questions, trade questions. We've got a series of questions that we want to get answered to them. Let me pull them up right here. And
before we go to the questions, if you want your question answered, get it to us either on Twitter. Our Twitter IDs are here, at Tipp Major, at Gregory L. Kellogg, or you can email it to us.
I'm sending the email to them right now.
Booking, yep. TC_booking at yahoo.com. Go ahead and get it to us early in the week, because if you get it to us just before the show or during the show, we can't research it. We can give you our opinion, but our opinion is always better if we have a chance to do a little research.
Yeah, and on these we actually did.
Dylan agrees. I see that smile.
On these, we actually did do a little research, although it was given to him a little late. Sorry, guys. Again, I had the anniversary yesterday. Don wants to know about this trade, and this one's going to be for you, Greg. And again, guys, if we disagree or don't or have some questions about what Greg is saying, let's all definitely, rebut. We get rebuttal. So We got Purdy and Purcell. So he's got Brock Purdy and Ricky Purcell for Anthony Richardson and Rome Odunze. Which side are you taking?
All right. So first, he didn't tell us whether it's point per reception league, so I'm assuming it is. He also didn't tell us whether it was redraft or dynasty, so I'm assuming redraft. Okay. Dynasty might change things. I wouldn't do this in a redraft league. Why not? I'm not seeing a clear advantage on either side of the trade. Without knowing, your full roster or your league type, answering this is impossible, but I'm going to try. Assuming redraft, Purdy is quarterback 8 in my league, okay? He has not been spectacular. His high game is 26. Anthony Richardson has a high game of 26 too, but his other games all sucked. And as we know from last year, he's a huge injury risk because he runs too much, in my opinion, okay? But he does have great potential, okay? He's, at this point, Purdy has not scored a single game lower than 10 points. All right. So his floor is basically 10 points. All right. You can't say that about Richardson. He scored less than 10 points in 4 or 5 starts. Not 4 or 5, 4 of 5. So he has sucked 4 weeks, and he's had one good week. Okay. You don't know what week to play him, basically.
It was against Houston.
Well, that's what I was going to say. He's playing the Texans.
Yeah, that was his first. That was his good game. Was the first week.
Well, but he's playing the Texans this week, so is he going to have another good game?
Well, but I don't care. Teams have got tape on the guy, And if you watched him play, do you really think against Houston he had
he actually didn't play that bad of a game last week? If you look at obviously number wise, but I've read plenty of stuff today. If you look at the throws themselves and the reads, it really wasn't that bad of a game. The numbers are awful, obviously.
He can't throw the ball.
I'm with you on this one.
Very inaccurate. He doesn't make good reads. He does not progress. He doesn't go through his progressions. I do not like Anthony Richardson even a little bit in a redraft league. Now, he's going to have some huge games. He showed that last week. He just is, okay? He can throw deep.
They played Miami last week. Miami's pass defense is not a joke. They're shutting no one's throwing.
I didn't say they were. I'm just saying
in general, yeah. But
I'm just saying that teams have a way to stop him because they've seen it on tape 4 out of 5 weeks. He hasn't played Miami all 5 games.
Facts.
All right? He played Houston 1. And if you look at his schedule, he has not been good. He just has not been good. Now, both wide receivers in this trade are what I call enigmatic, okay? We expected great things, but we don't know what we're going to get. Odunze had one really good game. He really did. Purcell now is a starter for the 49ers, and I don't think you're going to see Debo. I talked to Dr. Franklin, and he said that when you have water on your lungs, you're not better all of a sudden. It's going to take
time.
Weeks to be back to full strength. Now, while he hopes to play, Brandon Ayuk ain't playing. I guarantee that.
Yeah.
Kershaw, at worst, is going to be the number 2 option. Kittle may not play in this game. And I know Juwan Jennings is probably going to get a big workload this week.
He's actually got a hip injury. He's quite beyond questionable. He's probably doubtful, actually.
Oh, is he? See, now I didn't know that, which also adds to Kershaw's possibilities.
I think he's probably doubtful right now. So, he hasn't practiced all week.
Now, in a dynasty league, Odunze probably offers enough upside. And
100%.
If
that
Richardson,
kid, all he needs is time. Once they give Williams a little more time, his route needs to develop.
He's got 2 good receivers in front of him. That's the problem.
He's got one receiver that can run routes and catch touchdowns. Allen is not used to.
Keenan Allen still gets open.
He can still get open.
Yeah. 20 to 20, he's not effective. 20 to 50.
And you're not even talking about Cole Kmet.
And if you look at the targets, Keenan Allen and DJ Moore are still going to dominate the targets. And then you got Cole Kmet, who's getting used a lot. Odunze this year is not going to be worth giving up, a top 10 quarterback for Richardson. Now, in a dynasty league, I might consider this trade, but in a redraft, I won't touch it.
Dynasty
all right, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on, guys, because we want to get to your last question as well, Bumpy. So hold on.
Yeah,
let's get to you to answer this one. So this one's for you. It says Ryan asked, Goff, Russell Wilson, Geno, or Tua, which QB rest of season?
I mean, this is a question I guess going to depend on basically on my record. If you need to win now, if you need to set yourself up for the playoffs, I always like to set myself up for the playoffs. Tua's got a phenomenal. Where's my? Tua's got 3 easy matchups. He's got Houston indoors, San Francisco good weather, high scoring flying game, and then he's got what's the other one? Houston. I forget.
Are these weeks 13 through 16?
Playoffs. I'm setting myself for the rest of the season. Like I shoot for the stars in playoffs. I'm not really.
No, but I mean, what weeks do you consider the playoffs?
15, 16, 17 playoffs.
Okay,
playoffs.
I go 14 to 16, but okay.
14. Yeah, we do. Geno's got a nice schedule setting up. So if you need to win now, go with Geno. If you don't, I would go with Tua. But his matchup for super or playoffs: Green Bay, Minnesota, Chicago. You don't want to play Geno in those three games. Green Bay, that you saw what they did this past weekend. Minnesota, lethal. Chicago, we all know what's going to happen this weekend to your boy. And Goff's got Buffalo, Chicago, and then
Goff just doesn't throw enough.
He doesn't. And the funny thing about him is everybody's like, oh, his indoor games, he's so good, blah, blah, blah. I looked up before because I was going to draft him this year. But if you look at the numbers, it's all inflated. It's not true. His indoor, outdoors, it's all the same. It's 20 points. One big one here and there, boom, 20 points. That's a myth. That whole indoor thing.
They just run too much.
Exactly.
All right, Bumpy. So who are you going with, man? Who are you gonna do?
I'm going with Tua, dude. You know me. Come on, man.
I should have known better. All right.
Well, I mean, like I said, if I'm gonna win now, I'll go with Geno.
Look, I'm gonna tell everybody in the audience. When it comes to fantasy football, I think I learned this from Scott the King Angle, and maybe Greg said it too. You don't go with your heart. You have to.
I'm not going with my heart. I'm going with stats.
You have to leave your heart out.
Hey, I'm not a Miami fan. I agree with him.
I agree with him. Come on, man. It's not my heart. It's numbers. I'm realistic. Like, no, please, come on, man.
Win now.
Geno?
I'm not sure about that because DK Metcalf. I don't know the extent of his injury.
Yeah, he's hurt for a couple weeks.
I just don't know how you can't go against Goff right now.
First of all, these guys are all going to be on the wire when. If one of them doesn't work, I'll pick somebody else up. I'm going to go.
Well, that's what I said. You go with Tua if he gets hurt.
Those guys are going to put up numbers.
If he gets hurt, you got somebody else.
I don't know how you can't. I don't know how you can't go with Jared Goff the way he's playing right now.
Because
he's only getting 20 passes.
20 points from anybody. That's why
he's only getting 20 passes. That's why.
Yeah,
he's not throwing the ball enough.
Chino knows that.
Yeah. Anyway, who's next?
All right, so we got number 3. We got Matt. Matt wants to know Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison, or Anthony Richard or Garrett Wilson. Dylan, which side are you taking?
Oh gosh, do I have to? Can I plead the fifth on that one?
You
No,
can.
you have to answer it.
No, I've already answered it. He can't.
I would take. I think I would take Kyler and probably Tyler and Marvin Harrison and hold my nose. I don't know what to expect from.
And I have the opposing view because I think the best player in this thing is Garrett Wilson. Especially with Devontae Adams there, I think Wilson gets a lot more second level coverage because Devontae's going to draw the top corner. I really don't like Kyler or Richardson because I don't like running quarterbacks because I think they're just injuries waiting to happen. So, and I will say this. I would go with Richardson and Garrett Wilson, but I would like it a lot more if Joe Flacco was on the waiver wire and I could add him to the end of my bench. Because
I can see that.
Because I like Flacco a lot.
I love Flacco. I think it sucked for the Colts last week that they won that game, because if they would have lost that game, I think we could probably see a scenario where there might be a quarterback competition there.
You might see it anyway.
Hopefully, because Joe Flacco just makes that team run so much smoother. All right, so the next one we're going to try to do this one collectively because we're running out of time, and I wanted to get everybody's view on this one. It says, how are you feeling about Detroit or Chargers defense this week? And then they also have the Rams. They have the Rams defense going tonight. So they said that they want to know that. They also ask a kicker question as well. She has Chase McLaughlin, Rena does, and she wants to know she's leaning towards Dicker the kicker or Boswell. For me, it's the Chargers. That Chargers defense is nasty. Like they're only allowing their opponents.
It was Arizona. It was just Arizona though. Let's not give too much credit. It's just Arizona that they played.
Well, no, but you've got to see what they've been doing the whole year. The whole year, they're only giving up 13.8 points per game for the whole year. Okay. That in of itself, I get what you're saying about it was against Arizona, but no, that in of itself, they have continuously done that week in and week out, and they're one of the slower moving offenses because they run the ball so much. Yeah. So they're going to be a slow-paced team that allows them to control the clock, possession time, and it also allows them to get defense to rest. So I'm going with the Chargers defense this week, although the Detroit defense has been playing lights out. Even though they lost their best player, they've still been playing lights out.
Tipp.
I like Detroit.
This is who they played: Las Vegas, Carolina, Pittsburgh, which is bad Pittsburgh, Denver, and Arizona. I mean, how could he not stop those teams? It's not saying a whole lot.
Well, I think Denver's got a better offense.
Got a better offense than right.
Yeah, I mean it's still.
But I do think Detroit's strength on defense is stopping the run. I don't think anybody doubts that. And Tennessee's weakness on offense is throwing the ball. So I think Detroit's going to shut down Pollard. I don't think Spears plays. So I think Detroit. Detroit could hold Tennessee under 10.
Chargers are playing New Orleans. That's definitely a good start for sure. Yeah.
Both of them are good starts. Both of them are good starts. It's just
unless Derek Carr does get back on the field. If Carr plays this week, New Orleans is a much better offense than Tennessee will ever be.
And even Olave,
and they still got Kamara.
They're still, but he's not playing this week for sure.
Kamara's not?
No, I'm saying Carr's not playing. That team is worthless.
I don't know how you can say that. Everything I'm reading says he's trying.
Everything I saw. I mean, you're trying. You can. I can try.
He's a limited participant in practice.
He has
limited participant does. If he was the limited participant, that does mean that he has a chance to play. I think what you got to look at is Friday. Friday is the telling day typically for practice.
All right. All right, we're going to go a little over. So, Iggy, we apologize because I know you got to get ready for the watch party. But let's go ahead. Let's go to the special question that was asked by Bumpy. Okay. Over the years of playing, do you have any sort of advice you might want to give someone just getting into fantasy football, or even for someone that's maybe been in doing it for a long time but just can't get over that hill? Do you have any advice you might want to be able to share and give someone. So I'll go first, but I do want you guys to also chime in. All right. So I've got lots of advice. I like to talk. I like to talk. I came back after 5 years off and heard about this new thing called zero running back draft strategy. To me, that is the most insane approach you can take. Okay, you use a balanced draft strategy. Get a top running back, get a top wide receiver. Now, I used to do stud running back, which is just as insane. You're going 3 running backs in the first 5 rounds. That's too much. But I also like to get a tight end relatively early because I want a top 4 or 5 tight end. This year, that's proven to be questionable at best because the top tight ends have not performed to expectations. Okay, so the best advice I can give you is, you have about an 8% chance of winning your league if you're in a 12-team league and all things are equal. All right, 1 in 12. You can increase your odds by outworking your opponents. All right, work the waiver wire. Do trades, but don't give players away. Look ahead. Look at the schedule ahead. But I think the most important thing you can do is you need to build a network of people and websites that you trust that you can go to. All right? Most people in fantasy football aren't looking for money. Now, a lot of sites want you to sign up. That's fine. I don't have any problem with signing up. We're promoting SportsMind AI, which is $9.99 a month or $60 a year. And we're going to be able to offer a 30% discount to our listeners. But we're testing it first to make sure it's reasonable. I kind of like it, to be honest. But that said, build a network of people you trust and use them. And don't just drain them. When you have information, share it. Don't be afraid to share information with your opponents because they're always going to wonder if you're telling them a lie. Mm-hmm. And if you're telling the truth all the time, which I do, it's so much more fun to beat Tipp when he knows exactly what I'm going to do.
He's not going to
ahead of time. If he knows what I'm going to do and I still beat him, that's bragging rights for the year. So
that's a Larry Bird approach. It's a Larry Bird approach.
Let's go to Bumpy first, and then Tipp, and then we'll end with Dylan. So, Bumpy, what advice would you give people?
It took me a long, long, long time to figure this out. But the person I learned fantasy football with, Greg and my buddies back in Florida, we used to do I used to always get discounted players. Remember Josh Gordon and then what's his face? The slant guy, Mike from the Saints.
Michael
Thomas, yeah. He'd be suspended or whatever. And I used to.
Isn't Thomas available right now?
He is actually.
Yeah, I think there's somebody that's talking about bringing him in.
Yep.
The Dolphins should because Odell Beckham's not doing anything. No,
might have been the Saints.
No, but the thing was, I used to spend a lot of time hoping and wishing and waiting for these guys to come off suspended lists or injuries. Don't waste your time on people that you're just hoping and dreaming to come back. There's people that are going to hit the waiver wire that you can spend time learning about. And then he comes back and then he gets injured again. It took me a long time to get out of that mindset. There's players that stayed consistently hurt. Stay away from people that are not going to be on the field playing. Yes, you'd get them cheaper in the draft, 12, 13 or whatever. It does not matter. You can waste your time later on finding somebody with the upside than hoping and praying that this guy's eventually going to come back. It took me a long, long time. I would say even to the last couple of years when I started doing it. And results have been completely different. Completely different.
Tipp, what's your advice?
Well, for me, the first thing is always have fun. You got to have fun while playing fantasy. It's a game. You play a game, you have fun. Yeah, we win some money. Yeah, you get frustrated at time, but it's ultimately about having fun. But also, not only that, paying attention to trend, paying attention to matchups. If you make sure that you pay attention to those two things, it's usually harder at the beginning of the season, first 2 weeks or so. But after that, you start to understand the tendencies that these teams are going through. You see the trends that they're doing, the matchups that they're going against. And then not only that, the last thing that I always like to look at is one of the things I look at in the offseason is coaching changes. looking at coaching
Facts.
philosophies, looking at different coaching philosophies that are coming up. That the team may have, they may have been really bad in the run, but now they bring in a running backs coach, and now they're going to be pretty good at the run, possibly like Anthony Lynn going to the Commanders. So you look at things like that, or you look at different coaching changes that happen that could benefit those offenses or those defenses that you could be targeting.
Tip, for instance, like the Atlanta coach last year, they had a double quarter. Now I should have known this year because I'm a humongous Jalen Warren fan. But I didn't realize. I should have known. That's just a wasted pick because that coach, I forget his name, it's just the way he operates. Arthur Smith. Yeah.
Arthur Smith. Yeah. Dylan, what's your advice?
Well, I mean, the first year I played fantasy football was 2009, and that year I drafted all the Colts and CJ2K when he ran for 2,000 yards. You know what? You know what I would say? I try and get a balanced roster too. Like in one of my leagues, first 4 picks were, I think, I try and get guys. I mean, I try and get guys. I really am a believer in getting a top tight end. This year, I got Trey McBride in a couple of my big leagues.
Garbage.
Unfortunately, the top tight ends didn't work. I like getting a stud quarterback. I love getting at least one running back, one wide receiver. I just love getting guys. I don't want to be light at every position. I want to have a top 4 or 5 option at every single position possible.
I think that's great advice. Now, who's going to win the game tonight? Start with you, Bumpy. Simple. It's one of 2 teams. Just pick one.
I can't even remember. I know the Rams are playing because I got to figure it out from the start.
Rams in Minnesota.
I'm going to have to say everybody's calling it a trap game, but Minnesota's not losing.
All right, Dylan, who do you got?
The Rams are going to win this game 31-23.
Tip, I know wants the Rams.
Yeah,
he's already said they're going to upset him. I believe the NFC North is the best division in football. It's going to be the Vikings. Now, that said, I want to thank you both for coming on. Dylan, tell the people where they can find your work.
Guys, I do have one question, though.
Well, just a second. Dylan, where can people find your work?
Sorry.
You can check me out. You can follow me on Twitter at DylanSSports1, Spunky Spectrum Sports.
Thank you. And again, thank you guys both. What's your question, Bumpy?
I guess apparently Puka's playing tonight, surprisingly.
Do I start him? Cooper's practiced all week.
Yeah, I'm cool with Cooper. I'm not worried about him. It's more, do I start him over Evan Ingram? I get 1.5 points per reception for tight ends.
I wouldn't start him. Minnesota's defense is for real.
What's that?
Minnesota's defense is for real. And Puka is Jameson Williams of that offense, and he's coming off an injury. I would go with Ingram because he's getting a lot of targets.
No, absolutely. That's why. Plus, I get 1.5 points.
Hey, fellas, let's talk about this offline so that way we can get everybody over to JC and Iggy's show.
Thanks for having
us, But before that, we do have a show next week, and so look, we have 2 guests, or we have 1 guest next week.
No, guys, we got a second. I see you got text.
Okay. I didn't see it yet. Okay. So we have the last name is Kimmel. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna say anything other than that. You're gonna have to find out if it's gonna be Jimmy or not. So come and check out the show next week. And we do get our Joe. Who is our Joe, Greg?
I don't have it in front of me right now.
Okay. No worries. But yeah, so we have our Joe as well. So I was gonna invite you guys on, but we will need a Joe eventually. So if you guys listen in, don't have a podcast or don't contribute to the fantasy, as far as making content.
But you want to try podcasting?
But you want to come on and try it with us? Definitely bring us on. I sent the TC_bookings at Yahoo in the chat. So go ahead and email us and ask us how we can get you on, and we'll get you on. All right, Iggy, take us over.
It was a lot of fun. I've never done anything like this. Like I said, I'm not corporate. I'm not even used to this, whatever. I had to download Chrome. Just
StreamYard. Yeah, StreamYard.
But no, it was a lot of fun. I appreciate
it. It's easy.